2.0. We have a very powerful deck that we've put together, a lot of slides. Just to let you know that we will make those slides available to you after this presentation in forms of a YouTube recording, in form of a blog post with a slide share and a downloadable PDF. So if you couldn't catch the whole thing and you have to drop off somewhere in the middle, we'll make sure we'll send you an email. So just a quick housekeeping stuff. Please leave your comments inside the chat box. We have our colleagues who are also on the line with us who can moderate and help answer any of your questions. We'll leave some few minutes towards the end of this presentation so we can take your questions and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. And we can sometime take those questions offline and continue our discussion via email or phone, which we've done a lot in our past webinars. So hello, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Richard. I'm the founder of Vbout.com. So Vbout is a full marketing automation suite. We have email, social media, landing page tools, analytics, everything you need across your customer lifecycle from lead nurture, acquisition, and maintenance we provided in one backbone platform. So if anybody's looking to do marketing, anybody who's frustrated using multiple tools, Vbout is the right tool for you. When I'm not building my startup, I'm passionate about building my community. We have a very good a community in New York City where we meet on a monthly basis, and we discuss the latest and greatest in marketing technologies, marketing topics. All those things that we discuss, we take and we make available to you in form of webinars, in form of videos. So if you haven't followed us on our social media channels, please do so. We have our channels listed here. Everything that we create, we publish. We're very active on our channels. And of course, if you would like to join our blogs, updates, we have an opt-in form on our website. We try to provide the best content we can. These webinars and presentations are really an aggregate of work between all our teammates. So we're a total of 7 people putting these stuff together. We have Audrey, our marketing director, George. We also have Kelly, who help put most of this together as well. We have our graphics team, kind of putting those images and icons. So it's a lot of work, and we want to make these available to you. So we teach you what we're learning building our own startup. And by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past because I see repeat subscribers to our webinars. We're creating a 12-course on digital marketing. So anybody who's interested in becoming a digital marketer, anybody who has a business and would like to learn how to do marketing, we're covering most of the topics that you need to know to be able to do social media marketing, build landing pages, email marketing, automation, all that stuff. About 12 courses that we're putting together. So we're halfway done, and this is going to be available to you as well. So if anybody's interested, join us. You can go to vbout.com, and there's a link to join. So with that, we'll get started. We have a lot to cover. We're going to go over why social media, timing and frequency. We'll cover the basic channels or the most prominent channels, some trends and conclusions. I won't be able to cover every single slide because I wanted to make those slides available to you at your own convenience. So I'll skip through some of the stats and numbers that we help compile on this presentation. All right, so why does social media matter so much? Why everybody's buzzing around it, been buzzing for years, why businesses, when they're starting and startups, the first thing they think about is their social media strategy. Well, here are some very important metrics for you to look at. So 70% of the population have at least one social media account that they are highly engaged in. Worldwide, the projected users of social media is around 2.5 billion, so that's a quarter of the human population. We have 57% of our consumers are influenced by positive comments about your company. So if you have good reviews, half of the people trying to access information about your company will be influenced by those reviews. 90% of millennials use social media. So if you're a dinosaur and you don't believe in social media, you're probably not going to live for too long, because there are a huge number of this future generation that are depending highly on social media, engagement, social emotions, and all that that influence their buying and their engagement online. So you have to think about the future generation, not only about the current times. And a quarter of millennials, or a third of the millennials, said his favorite form of communication with businesses. This is why you see a lot more forms of customer support coming from social media. So what do people share online, particularly through social media channels? Obviously people share content. This content is in form of visual content like imagery, videos, and also blog posts. So typically when I speak to businesses, I tell them directly, people are really sharing emotions and information. That's in a nutshell um, what they share. So if you read a piece of content and you feel like you learned something from it, you feel proud of yourself, you feel like you know better, you're influenced to share that piece of content. If you watch a video and you feel like it triggered an emotional influence, then you're more likely to share this content and view it multiple times and tell people about it. Um, And obviously video is overtaking, so a lot of you consume at least one video per day in form of an ad being delivered to them, in form of a funny video on their social feed, or maybe a live stream like this one. Increased mobile engagement, allowing video to be delivered not only on your PC, but anywhere that you are, including if you're on an airplane, you can watch videos, which is amazing. You can stream video while you're thousands of feet off the ground. Now internet available everywhere. And blog posts, obviously, it's huge. We did a lot on content marketing, and you should definitely watch that webinar. If you work on your content marketing strategy, uh, you should think how you should integrate your social media, how you can use those blog posts and the content you're creating on your social media channels. So how do you get started? You start your own business, you form the team, and you're ready to get going. So obviously, starting up with your goals, what do you want to get out of your social media efforts? Are you looking to simply do what other people are doing? Are you looking to generate leads from social media? Are you looking to close business, which is obviously what most of the people are looking to do? Or are you just doing it as a mean for you to extend your brand and show people that you know what you're doing and engage in conversations? So defining your initial goals is what you should start with. Know your channels. So not only say I want to be on all these 5 or 6 mainstream channels. Just think about where you need to be, where your audience are, aggregating what is their digital footprint, which we will talk about, and focus on those, because you cannot stretch yourself thin. Creating the right content for the right channels, or taking a piece of content and breaking it down to the right channels is also part of your strategy. So think about, I want to write a blog post, I want to distribute it on these 3 channels, which way I should be pushing it out, what graphics I should be posting on each of those, etc. Set up your metrics and results so you can measure your engagement and the ultimate goal, if you're getting there or not. Tweaking your campaigns, because nobody gets it from the first time. We take ourselves as a great example because we're learning a lot from our mistakes and the things that worked for us in the past. Always tweak and change and try different things in A/B testing, or whatever the term you want to call it. And make sure you're trying to align your brand with influencers, find out where they are and try to follow them and get engaged with them, because it's a long process. They don't notice you overnight. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort and time to get there. So your social branding, obviously having a website and a logo doesn't work by itself. You need to think of social media as an extension of your brand. Because when people look you up on Google, or if they're trying to get to you through search, not only your website pops up, but probably your social media channels will precede. So your Facebook profile might pop up second or third. Your reviews on social media channels like Yelp, review channels, your Twitter account might pop up, etc. So making sure that People will see consistent images, logos, branding, tone of voice, personality, all that consistent across all these channels is important to project your brand properly. If you're not doing it right on one channel, you might lose one client that's highly engaged on that particular outlet. So make sure that you're consistent, and of course your managers or the company that you are working with should do their homework and make sure that this is consistent across. So as far as timing and frequencies, every business and every target consumer have different behaviors and engagement. So this is technically not the same for everybody, but there are general rule of thumb of how you should do things based on millions and millions of posts that were published out there. So first, you got to think, can I be consistent on social media? If you're posting once per month, that's probably not good enough because people are looking for more content, and that post you push out once per month doesn't live out too long. So it's important for you to be consistent. Of course, choosing the channels and the times you want to do it. Do a little homework on the best times to post, for instance, on Instagram, and we have great resources on that. How frequently you should post. So should you do it once per day, once per week, a couple of times per day, etc. So here are a few things that we compiled, and we have an infographics on that as well. So on Twitter, 3 times daily, posting between 9 and 7. Engagement decreased slightly after the third tweet. On Facebook, twice per day, from 9 to 7, and likes and comment dissipates after the second post. So again, this is not the same, that doesn't apply specifically 100% for every business, but is a general rule of thumb. For LinkedIn, doing 1 post per day, I think in the early mornings where professionals are using it for their own purposes to generate leads and so on, might stumble upon your content, versus at night where they're leaving work and they don't want to be reading stuff. I mean, once per day I think is good enough. Google Plus 3 times per day, Pinterest 5 times per day. I think this is more for brands. Top brands using it are doing pretty well. We'll go through some examples. Instagram, 1 to 2 times per day. I think major brands are posting an average 1.5 times per day. I don't know what that 0.5 means, but I think posting between once or twice per day averages to that. And of course, in blogging, if you can do twice per day, that's great, without without the cluttering or overusing your resources, because writing a blog post should engage and require research and time. So twice per day probably a lot. So 2 times per week is a great frequency, and that will give you enough content to distribute across your channels as well. So choosing your channels, obviously, we've discussed this briefly. Figuring out where you want to be, where you're going to put in your effort, and creating your buyer persona is the first step to choosing your channels. So we have this template that we share with you, and we've built for our internal purposes when we're creating Vbout. We try to see where our customers are, what are their experience expectations, professionally, personally, what are the ultimate goals of using a platform like ours, what are our competitors and what they are currently researching. So for instance, I would like to know where Chris is looking for the next marketing platform. Is he searching for this on review channels like G2 Crowd, which is a great software review channel website? Is he looking on Google in keyword terms? Is he influenced by ads on Facebook? So this type of stuff that also we try to look into, and we advise you to do the same when you're choosing your channels. So creating your buyer persona, and this template will be available as well, is important, so you can determine what channels to get started with. So when we say the digital footprint of a user, we're actually talking about the channels they're on, the type of search and the keywords they're looking for, devices they're using, social network they spend most of their time on, their websites and apps they engage in, and how often, what, and when. I think there are tools that are available out there. So if you go to your Google Analytics, and I'm assuming at this point a lot of you know what Google Analytics is, and you simply type in interests on the search bar on your profile, you'll see they have affinity interest, age group, demographics, search terms, a lot of data that you can collect, and Google will give you some insights on that. So definitely there are things that you can do to find out the digital footprint of your users. And Google Analytics is only one tool. There's a lot of additional things you can do online. You simply need to research those tools. All right, so let's start going over the channels. Starting with Facebook, it has 1.6 billion users. So, you know, that's a lot. Let's put that in a nutshell. This is also a breakdown of the demographics. We made these available to you in case you would like to get more insights on that. Businesses are using Facebook for brand building and increasing trust and visibility. You see more results for companies doing B2C versus B2B. You know, for us as a software company, we're not selling to end consumer, but we know that our consumers are people at the end of the day, and they engage with certain content on a personal level. So, you know, if you're doing a B2B selling, try to put a human element to your posting, so at least you communicate with people on the channel they're on. So Facebook is the most popular paid social media outlet. We have a section on paid ads we'll cover at the end. 67% of companies are planning to increase their spend on Facebook, and true for B2C as well as B2B. So here are some additional stats. Facebook is the most important social media network, followed by LinkedIn for B2B. And these are the two charts that you can go through. I think YouTube has been finding a good niche in expanding their B2B footprint, so it's good. Which is why video is huge. Some of the Facebook changes: live stream has been enabled to all users. It started with beta with few influencers, then they rolled it out to everyone. So anybody right now, they can start broadcasting their own lives if that's their thing, and it's being used a lot. They're also adding enhancements to their video. Not only you can you know, push videos, you can live stream, you can also create 360 imageries, which is amazing, and 360 videos, so you can interact with the videos by moving your phone. I think this is something that I'm really fascinated with. Obviously, they have different controls in privacy that they're trying to roll out, so you can control better ads delivery, figuring out the content that you're interested in versus others. So these things are using it to empower the user to get relevant content, but of course the ultimate goal for them is to get relevant ads served to the user. So here are some of the tactics. So what does this mean for your business? You'd have to be more strategic with your content. You cannot just roll out any content for any channel and, you know, distribute it this way. You have to be careful about the wording, the imagery that you deliver for Facebook versus Instagram versus Twitter, because they're different people, different demographics or audience. According to Social Baker, video's taken over, so make sure if you're posting videos to Facebook, do them directly as an upload, organic video, I mean native video versus sharing it from YouTube, because what you can do is take that video and it plays automatically in the feed. You can promote it. You can see the views on it, versus if you do it by sharing a YouTube link, you won't be able to measure and do these things. Be creative with your topic. So, you know, Facebook is saturated with content. So if you want to stand out, just have some sort of a content that distinguishes you from the other competitors and the sponsored ads. So learning about trending topics and tailoring those ads can help. And I know some of our clients, they look at the latest trends and the latest news, and they kind of word their ads and posts accordingly. So another option to optimize Facebook audience, so they have Facebook audience optimization. I'm not sure if this is available to everyone, but you can actually you can target or create a target for your posts. I'm not talking about the ads, to see which audience will see that post or followers. So increase engagement, understanding your target preferences, using tags as a mean for you to tag people inside a post. So these are certain things you can use. You know, obviously on Facebook, you have a lot of content on your hand. You don't know what to publish. So just make sure that your content have an emotional impact on your Facebook audience. Don't just make ads about your product. Make an ad about how your product is impacting people. It probably has a better effect on the long run. And ads perform better because they resonate with people. And don't simply copy your competitors, because people who see your competitors, most likely they will see your ad and you would look just monotone, or they will see through that you're copying them, because you and your competitors are targeting the same audience most of the time. So be sure to distinguish yourself, create your own tone, and just test with different variations. All right, moving on to Twitter. Twitter has 325 million users as of today, or as of that research that was done. 23% of adult internet users use it, and that represents the 20% of the entire adult population. I mean, these are huge numbers. So additional demographic numbers here, if you'd like to dig deeper. You have 70% of businesses use Twitter for building brands. 57% of businesses are spending 50% more on Twitter than 2 years ago. So this year we started spending on ads on Twitter. We didn't do that last year. We never thought about it the year before. So I think more businesses are planning to invest, and you can see certain engagement from certain audiences or certain types of posts versus others. So it really depends on your business and the way that you test your promoted ads. Some of the changes that Twitter went through: in May 2016, Twitter announced usernames and media attachments. So now you can push out a video to social media, and they won't take part of your character limit. We just added this to Vbout because they opened their API as well, because they're empowering developers to use video and pass video through their API. So now we can post through Vbout to these channels, to Twitter, I'm sorry, through our scheduling tool. They have real-time streaming using Periscope. It's not the recent news, but it's available, and they're improving it, making it an integral part or a tool on their post panel. It's becoming popular amongst marketers who are trying to do or promote events, webinars like this, and roll out products. Some of the tactics we want to share with you on Twitter: when you put the URL in the middle of the tweet, and it performs much better than being at the end or in the middle. Using one hashtag gets more engagement than using more. One hashtag is 69% more likely to be retweeted than using two. And also the length of your hashtag, if you're doing 11 characters, it gets 117% more retweets than short tweets. So these are certain things for you to consider. Now, for growing your followers, which is an issue that everybody who are starting out on these channels ask: how do I get more followers? It's not going to be an overnight success unless you get covered by media, or you do something really good, that you get news coverage or something viral. It's a long process that you need to invest in. So it takes days and months for you to build out your audience. But there are certain things that you can do to enhance or increase this, and eventually it will start working on its own. So first, we recommend you to start aligning yourself with influencers in your industry and follow them. You also find your competitors, and I say follow your competitors and follow the people following your competitors, because if somebody's following You know, if you're in the food industry and somebody else is following your competitor, obviously they might be interested in following you. So you know, doing that technique can engage more audience and increase your following. Finding your target audience and connect with them, obviously, through a hashtag. So if you look up, for instance, a topic on marketing, you might have uh, hundreds of thousands of posts on that. See the ones that matter to you and filter them. There are filters available, and try to follow these people, engage with them, maybe even mention them in certain posts. Bring out your personality because you have only very short, few characters to share, and with the short characters, you can bring out a lot of personalities. This is why a lot of news influencers and bloggers use Twitter to kind of get that influencing. Building out lists, which I didn't mention, I skipped over it. So if you never use lists, it's a good tool for you to group your influencers in different lists. So you can have your either your tier influencers, mid-level influencers, starting influencers. You can have people talking who are really good in SaaS platforms versus others who are really good in blogging. So organizing that can help. So Twitter has also shifted to becoming a good tool for customer service. I personally complain using Twitter. So if if I have an issue with the company and they haven't responded, and I'm really desperate, I go to Twitter and I mention them. And most of the time, at least 90% of the times, this worked, and I get an immediate answer right away. Whereas they didn't answer me via email or via their chat support on their website. It's amazing. Because it's transparent, brands are afraid to tarnish their reputation. They're afraid to have a negative influence and negative sentiment, so they're really focusing on making this as a customer support tool. And it's okay to get something negative as long as you're actually getting feedback and you're treating it immediately. American Airlines does a good job in using Twitter, so if you'd like to check out their feed and see how they're using it, I would highly encourage you to do it. So just like any channel, you have to have a content strategy and a calendar of your posts. So figuring out, for instance, the blog post that you've written, break it down into smaller posts and push that out to your Twitter. You can repost certain things. You don't have to be afraid in repurposing the same content over a long period of time because no posts live forever. So it's good to do that. Having your unique personality stand out from your posts, which we covered already. All right, the third channel, LinkedIn, which I'm highly active on. So LinkedIn has 420 million active users, which is also a huge number. It's a very good focus for B2B. So in case you, this is probably a good channel for you to be on. Additional demographics and numbers. It's a necessity for any B2B for prospecting, lead generation, and things like that. You can do a lot of research and find out about people at companies using LinkedIn. It also helps brand yourself and build that trust as a professional. Some of the changes that LinkedIn have been through, they're enhancing their groups experience. So in the past, it used to be very lousy, and I used to hate it. But now they made it a little bit more friendlier. They changed the interface slightly since the end of last year. They allowed things like images, embedding images and things within the posts. You can also tag people when you're posting on groups, which is a great way to get attention. Um, Also, they have enhanced their paid ads because obviously, as you know, they have sponsored ads just like any channels. You can target people based on their interests, their position at the company. But now they rolled out new things like sponsoring in-mail messages. So you can, for instance, pay, I don't know, $2 per email and target 100 professionals that you really want to target. So they're really enhancing their ads, their targeting, so you can reach out more people, more highly targeted people as you wish. But of course, some of these you have to pay money for. Some of the tactics for LinkedIn: share relevant content in your groups. So, if you join the group on, it's the marketing, don't talk about financial crisis topics. Be relevant to the groups you're in, and you'll get higher engagement. Also, you can repost things. A lot of people see a lot of noise in their feed on LinkedIn, but it's a good way to actually push yourself in the early mornings where people are starting to use LinkedIn to do their prospecting. Now, as far as Pulse, I'm not sure if a lot of people have the capacity to also post on Pulse, which is like a blogging, a good resource for bloggers. So you can share resources you've created on your website inside your LinkedIn Pulse. It gets you engagement, it gets you likes, it gets you visibility, which is good. So here's a quick example. Apple One Employment Services are using LinkedIn very well. They have a group. They have a lot of followers, and their content is just strictly tailored towards the thing that they do. You can check out their LinkedIn page to see what they're doing, because they don't only push job listings, but they push the professionalism and how employment should be and all that. So it's more than just what they do. Mashable is another great example. Obviously, Mashable cover a huge amount of content. Some of it are completely irrelevant for B2B, but they choose what they publish to LinkedIn. So all their stuff are around productivity tips, working at the office tips and things like that, business advice. So you can see how their tone changed between their postings on Facebook versus their postings on LinkedIn. Quick tips: try sponsored ads, sponsored posts. So if you create an update, you can spend a little bit of money and boost it. It can come at a price, and I highly I highly recommend that you use metrics to measure it, because you might spend a lot of money and it might not get you engagement. So you gotta figure out if you want to use sponsored updates versus paid ads, because they have different um, different ways for you to use their ad platform. Make sure you shine your profiles, whether it is your personal profile. This has to be obviously buttoned up. Your profile photo has to be perfect, professional. Your tagline has to be good. Your bio, your experience, and also the recommendation. So if you haven't gotten enough recommendation on your profile, it's good to start recommending your friends, who will your connections, who will in return recommend you back or endorse you for certain activities that you're good at. And when referring to your LinkedIn page, it's very obviously important to have your employees partake in the company and list you as their current employer. Your profile image on your company page should be also nice and clear with your branding. And obviously your post that you push out to your page should align with what the offering that you have. Moving on to Instagram. So Instagram has 430 million users. It's growing. I see a lot of my friends on Facebook popping up on my Instagram, because Instagram tells you when your Facebook friends join. So I see it growing like crazy, and obviously being able to advertise on it using the Facebook platform has changed a lot of things. So additional numbers for you here. Forrester calls it the king of social engagement for top brands. It's a lot of brands are really leveraging this as a mean for them to spread awareness and engage people. Although you cannot link directly to your product or your website if you're outside the ad platform, but they invest a lot of time and money because it engages people. And by the way, the engagement on Instagram is much higher than the engagement on Twitter and on Facebook. Some of the changes they've been through, they actually reworked their algorithm. So now you're able to see, for instance, the latest tweets, I'm sorry, the latest posts come up based on your engagement with the person you're following, based on your interest, the type of posts, your comments that you've left in the past. So they're making their feed a little smarter than before. And I think this is initially a way for them to monetize on their ads better, because they want to know how to serve you the best ads based on your best interests. So the algorithm for them to improve their ads have played a role in the algorithm for them to deliver better organic content to you. So obviously, you know, this algorithm depends on things like interaction with the share, the time you've interacted with them, previous behaviors, and so on. So you take this into consideration every time you view something, you comment on something. This might affect how your stream will look like on the long run. So some of the tactics, your images have to be engaging. You know, people are looking for a story through images. So make sure that your images are telling a story. You don't want to be robotic and just show, you know, a picture of, I don't know, a shirt without a story or a person behind it. I think it might not get you the best engagement. WeWork is a great example. If you follow them on Instagram, you can see how they're using it. You know, to talk about the things, you know, related slogan, do what you love, which is the people working at WeWork. They're just creating that culture around the people who work for us. These are the people who are the best at what they do. They do the things they love. These are professionals and so on. This is how they're projecting their pages. Another example is Califia Farms. They have actually a very good feed. If you check out their Instagram feed, they're showcasing their product nicely. They got a reward on the shape of their bottle, and all their posts are playful, fun, and they use animated GIFs a lot to kind of engage more people and present the brand. So some tips for Instagram: give your followers some insights about your brand. Um, you can tell them a story about your company, about yourself, about how you're doing things, how you're building, the events you're doing. You can be funny and have like a slightly funny tone, because if you're too serious on LinkedIn, it's great. If you're too funny on LinkedIn, it might not get you a good image. So Instagram lets you kind of open up a little bit and share this side of yourself and of your company, of your employees with your followers. You know, you can categorize your content using hashtags. Again, hashtags is widely used. Mainly you pop up in searches and people tracking certain things, so it's good to use hashtags. And have a caption on an image. Don't just post an image. You can track your results and engagement. There are tools that let you do that. Having your bio buttoned up, and that comes along with your branding. You can do promotions on Instagram. A lot of people do that. And of course, respond to users who leave comment on your pages. To engage or get more followers, you can always follow people. Usually people get push notifications on their phone when they get followed by someone. So that lets you reach people through their mobile phone, which in return might be interested in following you back, or it can get you some sort of a visibility. Pinterest. Not a lot of you out there are on it, but it's growing as well. They have 110 million active users, or million users. It's great for e-commerce platform. You know, mainly they focus on lifestyle, products, health, anything that's inspirational, food. It's mainly B2C. I think B2B are trying to leverage it for the better. I mean, we use it to share our infographics, some imagery around the things we do. We put some inspirational stuff on there as well. So it's a good outlet for brands to kind of showcase themselves on the channel that might have some sort of a following. Because again, every channel have people, and at the end of the day, people will use your product, people will buy your product. So figuring out how to talk to them on the channel they're most active on is really the core of social media. Additional stats here, I think this is the visual imageries and things published on Pinterest. A chart for you to look at. Additional stats, I'm gonna skip that. Some of the changes that Pinterest has been through, they added the buy it button, which is huge for e-commerce. So if you're selling a product, it's great to add this button on your pins, because now you can showcase your product, and obviously people can buy it directly from your Pinterest page. And also they are pushing their advertisement platform really hard. So I've been getting tons and tons of emails from them asking me to invest in their advertising platform. So these are some of the changes they've been through. A good brand that's leveraging it properly, LL Bean, which is an outdoor outlet that sells outdoors clothing and things like that. So the way they're using their Pinterest is by showcasing not only their products, but also things that happen outdoors and their customers relate to. So if they're talking about, it's just things happening in nature, or things, as you can see here, they're showing a puppy, or they're showing a car going through a canyon. I mean, these are certain things that the end consumer it will trigger an emotion at the end consumer, who will click on it and open it. So of course the first engagement is seeing it, second engagement is clicking on it, the third engagement is clicking on a link that you put in on the post description, on the pin description. Some of the tips we advise you to use for Pinterest is choosing different variations of imageries and photos to see which one gets you the most repins. Creative, inspirational, and so on. Organizing your content in boards, so you can have your products, you can have your friends, you can have customer boards, so depending on your business, you can organize your content accordingly. Make sure you put descriptions on your pins and CTAs, call to action, so you send people somewhere. We're not as active on Pinterest as we are on the other channels, but we do get Pinterest as I think the third highest referral for us from a traffic perspective. So it's great. You have to put links in your pins. It really gets you engagement and traffic. Using relevant keywords and hashtags also helps you pop up similarly to the other channels and searches. And using Pinterest tools to reach your target audience with targeted pins is good. One more thing, if you have a website, and most of you do, you can put a pin button on your images. So what we've done this in the past, and we realized people are pinning some of our infographics directly from our blog. So if you go to our website and you hover over any image, we'll be able to pin that image directly into the user's Pinterest page. So having those pins as part of your website, your products, is also important for you to grow your reach on Pinterest. Some of the tactics, being creative and trying different things, not only being robotic in your posting. Wayfair is a great example. Check out their Pinterest. I think they've done great, and they actually flipped their business, and I am going to share with you some of the numbers. So they had, because they were able to use Pinterest properly, just like I described, and you can check this out for yourself. They were able to increase their sales by 500%, 60% increase in web traffic, and 89% increase in web views. I mean, this is like a life-changing for any business. So if you have an e-commerce platform, you definitely should be investing a lot of your time and energy on Pinterest. All right, Snapchat. So disclaimer, we're still trying to dabble with Snapchat. We've done a lot of research on it, which is what we're sharing with you right now. So Snapchat has 200 million users, and it's growing 50% year by year. So you can see where this is going. Snapchat's largest users were between 18 and 24. So this is the new generation, the millennials, and it has to surpass Twitter with the number of daily users. So 150 million active users compared to 140 million active users on Twitter. So as more users join Snapchat, you can see this engagement growing even more. So Snapchat tactics, it's low cost, it's highly personal. This is why you have to be careful what kind of content you push out there so you don't waste your energy posting the wrong content or irrelevant content. They have video, they are real time and only last for 24 hours, so it gives you the sense that this is the video of the day. It's not something dated to 2 or 3 months. Raw, scrappy, and fun, so you're allowed to be a little bit more creative with your personality versus the other channels because things don't last for too long. And the relationship with the end users or the audience is a little bit more intimate, if you want to say. It's good for humanizing a brand. So, if you're taking LinkedIn is the most hard, so you got to present yourself professionally. Facebook, you're connecting professionally, but with a slightly more human way. Twitter is a quick snapshot of your personality. Then you have Snapchat is more of your personality as a fun person. So if you want to have that kind of attribution for each of those channels. GE is a good brand. Obviously, GE is a very a tricky business. So if you're starting out in their place and you want to use Snapchat, you probably have a lot of challenges to bypass. So what they did is they did a lot of Q&As for the users. They explained a lot of their scientific concepts in a fun way. Some of their findings, they use emojis and things to share it with people. So they made it more, they took whatever they spent millions and even billions of dollars researching and implementing, and they made it into this human level, fun, cartoonish kind of engagement. So you can see how you can figure out your personality based on the channel you're in. And I think Snapchat is one of the channels that lets you do that. Some tips, you can use customer geofilters to promote events, which people can also forward to friends. Uses the video chat to engage customers, to make their experience more personalized. Does different ways to tell your stories. And of course, always ask for feedback. Feedback is good. People like to give it because they feel like they can show off their personality. And videos lasting 24 hours is a good way for you to create promotions that will expire at the end of the day. All right, moving on to the other stuff here. We have obviously live streaming through social media, Meerkat and Periscope. If you are doing webinars, if you're doing events, using these things to broadcast is a great way for you to reach more audience. So consumers want faster, real-time stuff. They want to find out the latest, and they want fresh, out-of-the-box content. And this is one good way to do it, is to implement Meerkat or Periscope into your events and things that you feel that are relevant to your end consumer. So Periscope has 2 million daily users, similarly to Meerkat has 2 million registered users. So active users versus registered users is completely different, because you can have 2 million users, but you can have 1,000 active users using the platform. So these are the differences between both. And figuring out what you're going to live stream is definitely a challenge, but if you do events, you do webinars and things, it's a good way for you to do it. Let's talk a little bit about paid ads, and I think we're going to have a session strictly for PPC, but we're talking more about social paid ads and boosted ads. So the most popular channels right now for ad spend are Facebook, Google, and Twitter. So when it comes to social, you have Facebook is probably the most powerful. So the breakdown of paid ads, obviously there's similarities between the channels, whether it comes to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can target people based on their interests, position, engagement, things they like, and things like such. Instagram is an extension of the Facebook ad platform, so you can create an ad and push it to Instagram. But because it's more tailored towards imagery, it has more success with B2C versus B2B. With the buy now option, you can send people directly to your e-commerce website so they can buy stuff. I haven't seen as much success in software subscribes and things, but I think it's a trend that software makers are trying to overcome. um, so Snapchat is great for brand recognition. You probably see a lot of influencers. You'll see a lot of actors, uh, people who are doing self-branding, personal branding, and even singers and rappers and things. They're really leveraging Snapchat to reach wider audience in a more effective way and engaging way. So they're nurturing the future generation. They're thinking for the for what's going to happen next. Um, I'm not going to be only now. I'm also for the future, and of course, depending on your industry. Now for YouTube, it allows you to upload, view, and share. I mean, YouTube is huge for us. But it's not the only channel that you can upload a video and promote it. You can do the same on Facebook. The only good thing about YouTube is you can target people based on their browsing history, which works well for a lot of advertisers. So some of the tips for advertising, you got to make sure your content is appropriate for the channel you're pushing your ads on. So if you're on Facebook, your ad should be slightly different than your LinkedIn. And each channel, by the way, has a wealth of resource on the things that they know works better for you, from the tone of voice and so on. You can really alter one ad by using the word get versus sign up. It could have a huge impact on the performance of your ad. So making sure, read the resources of each of the channels and create your ads by following some of their guidelines. Of course, add your own personality to it. Now, Google Ads allow you to estimate traffic. Google Ads is slightly out, one of those things that you can consider as a social ad, but not. But if you're using it, you can get a huge insight on the competitors, how much they're researching it, researching particular keywords, and the costs associated with it. So there's a lot of tools that you can use using the Google AdWords platform to get insights on things that you're doing. So again, doing the research on the keywords helps you spend your money wiser. If you have some budget, you can hire a PPC specialist. It's always good to get the best bang out of your buck. You have to know that PPC specialists, from the beginning, make sure you understand how they charge. Sometimes they charge you percentage of the spend and the management fee. Sometimes they only charge you per performance and a management fee. So these are some of the things to learn when you're engaging a PPC specialist. There are also tools like AdStage. It lets you manage multiple social media ad platform from one place, so you can push out one ad with multiple variations of different channels from one dashboard. So it's a good tool to use. Try to target your fans. So if you already have followers and they showed interest, it might be a good idea for you to push out ads and target them because they're interested. If you're targeting non-fans, it depends, but you might fail if you're, I don't want to say it failed, this is probably the wrong way to put it, but start with your fans and see how the results convert, and then try to target non-fans. That's probably the right way to say it. Don't send irrelevant ads. Obviously using the geo filters and the geo targeting helps you deliver the ad to the right people. You don't want to target people in the US for promotion that you're only doing in Canada. That doesn't make sense, or the other way around. Even you can get down to the city level in many of those tools. So make sure to use it, leverage it, so you can reach the right people, the right place. And of course, using imageries to communicate an emotion and a feeling. Video is huge. We get more sign-ups to our webinars by using videos versus just images or just text, because we tested with all of those. These are some of the trends, a quick chart that we'd like to share with you so you can go over it at your convenience. Some of the changes in the ads, obviously there's a lot of ads being served to users on a daily basis, and they're getting sick and tired of it. So there's a lot of tools that are showing up that kind of blocks ads from showing on your page, whether these are things like Tor browser or built-in filtering tool or browser extension, all it does, it blocks the ads from showing on your pages. Because ads rely on things like your browser cookie, your IP address, and things like that, but you know, the end delivery for these ads could be blocked by using certain extensions. This is why ad channels are trying to get around these things, and they're offering you these filtering on your feed, so you can only see the ads that are relevant to you, which I think is great, because I don't want to see things I'm not interested in. If you want to serve me ad, which I'm okay with, make sure it's relevant to my current interests at the right time, and preferably the right moment. So these ad blockers cost advertisers $20 billion in revenue loss. Obviously, this is a huge number that affects the big players in the market. Content marketing is more critical in native advertising increase. So, you know, if you're creating content and sending people to the content, you're going to see more and more of that. And if you're not doing it, start doing it. You know, because people, it's cheaper to advertise a topic and a content versus advertising a product. That's always going to be the case, unless that changes in the future. So this is why you're going to see different trends in promoting content versus ad serve. And also, you know, experimenting with different types of ads like quizzes, posts, and articles and things like that. Okay, so we're getting down to the end, which is the ROI and metrics. So obviously you want to measure the results of your social media efforts. The only problem is that a lot of brands and a lot of companies, and even a lot of the tools that you implement, cannot give you 100% accurate return on investment indicators. You know, you might spend $1,000 this month and get 0 conversion. Next month you might spend $50 and you might get 50 conversion. I think this is due to the fact that each business is different. Some businesses might have a different life cycle. People are not interested the moment you serve them the ad necessarily, but next month they will be. So this plays a huge role in measuring certain things, like initially you measure engagement, likes, shares of your content, video views, comments being left, sentiment. These are the initial indicators. And then later on, when you set up your conversion pixels, which if you're not familiar with, we're going to have a session on analytics that dive deep into this. You can actually set up your conversion metrics, conversion pixels, and try to see how your conversion is being attributed to a different channel. I mean, we find this challenging initially at Vbout, but now, you know, we are able to track certain things like how many times people clicked on a link, and we can track, for instance, a conversion back to a particular post, which is, I think, is very powerful, and is helping us kind of attribute our effort on the content that we're pushing out. I don't want to say we got it 100%, but we're getting there. We're trying to track more and more on a daily basis. So the definition of social media ROI is, you know, again, setting up your initial engagements and then setting up your ultimate conversion and how you're getting there. So multiple metrics and KPIs, key performance indicators, you might want to set up. So if you're investing a certain amount of dollars every month on your social media ads and your social media posts, and you measure your conversion at the end of the month, this is probably not going to be the most accurate. You might want to do it on a quarterly basis, or on a, I would say quarterly basis is the safest, because you're not spending tons and tons of money, but at the same time you're giving it some time for it to take effect, for the followers to get acquainted with your brand and to kind of start acting on the things you're posting out. So again, the performance of measuring is you don't want to have a disconnect between yourself and your audience. At the same time, the traffic you're getting to the website. And of course, it depends on your goal. So if your goal is engagement, not traffic, and you're getting tons of engagement and comments and shares, that's great. you're getting to your goals. And I think each channel have its own built-in analytics that let you measure these things. But if your ultimate goal is traffic to your website or sign-ups to your blog, and all you're getting is comments and likes, maybe you're doing something wrong. Maybe you're not putting links in your post. Maybe your links are not getting people to the right place. So making sure you get those little things buttoned up will help you measure that, fill out the gaps, and you'll track much better. And also knowing which channel is working more for you, which channel is first driving you the most traffic, second is getting you the most conversions. And there are filters on Google Analytics and other analytics tools like Vbout that lets you kind of see how the conversion is coming from each of the channels. Again, we really encourage people to add hooks and things on their website, like social shares, likes, making your posts and your blog posts, not only social posts, blog posts, shareable on social media is good. Because you want to give people a mean for them to share it. Last time I was reading this great article on this random blog, and I wanted to share it. Now I wasn't on my phone, because my phone usually has a built-in share feature. Thank God for that. I was on my computer, and I was really lost. Like, where's the button? I was looking for it forever, and I couldn't find it. So that was one thing that struck me. Definitely put these shareable icons and plugins on your website. Coming back to analytics, there's a lot of tools that lets you do it. Google Analytics is great. It's easy, plug and play. Facebook Insights. Twitter has good analytics that they rolled out. Unfortunately, not via API, but it's available. Vbout, we have analytics for our goals, so you can set up your goal and conversion pixels and measure how the traffic is coming in, how your conversion is being attributed to which channel. Social Mention is also another good channel for analytics. That's an example for a report you can pull out on Google, so you can see, for instance, how your conversion is coming in, sessions, how many of them are new users, what is the average duration. I think this is important. I really like this because Twitter can get you more time spent on your site versus Facebook, although Facebook is getting you more traffic. And of course, getting the conversion is important. All right, so kind of to wrap up here, we've added some slides on a few things that are using social media really well, and obviously there's tons of them. But you have Richard Branson. He's a CEO, of multiple companies. He managed to leverage it very well, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, and I think if you follow his feeds, you'll see how he's doing it well. And he has a huge following on these channels. Some of the best practices he shares with his audience, things that he enjoys, like cute photos and things and personal stories. Balance between business and pleasure, which is what his whole image is about. If you read his book, he's actually focusing on building empires while having tons of fun. So that's his personality. Also, Dove, they're doing a great job. They're connecting with women to embrace themselves, using hashtags very nicely, and they're growing their following by a lot, and they're leveraging that nicely. Then you have Shake Shack. It's a popular brand. Everybody loves Shake Shack. If you're not a hamburger eater, you're missing out on a lot. But obviously, they've done a great job on social media. We've done a case study on Shake Shack. I think we'll share it with you as well. It's just here. There's a link for that. We kind of dug deep into how they used Instagram and other channels to engage more people and to create brand awareness. So they're not necessarily selling hamburgers from their Instagram feed, but they're connecting to people on the personal level, and they get driving traffic to the door by using those channels. All right, lastly, this is a list of some of the tools that you can use for social media. Feel free to go through them one by one. Obviously I'm going to endorse Vbout because we're a social publishing tool, and we built a whole platform on enhancing and connecting the different marketing channels. But you also have Buffer is popular, Hootsuite, social media channels. You know, we didn't mention all of them because the list will go on forever, but these are some of the things that you can use. All right, and with that, I think we'll end the webinar. We'll take some Q&As right now. Let me just go over the questions. And please make sure to subscribe to our social media channels for our next webinar, which we'll have in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. We'll make sure to notify you via email, via social media, etc. So Arjun, do you have any questions from our users? I've seen some things show up on the chat. All right, so we have a question here. You suggested posting 2-3 times per day, depending on the platform. But to what extent should a company engage in trending topic that may be relevant to their business? For example, if my business is related to oil and people are talking about oil spill off in the Gulf, to what extent should my company engage in a discussion? So, Thabang, I think, you know, when you're engaging in social media, you're positioning yourself as an expert in the field. So I'm not sure if I have the right answer. So if you're an expert in the field and you know you're putting your latest opinion. I mean, are you sharing an opinion? Are you sharing a fact? Are you sharing a breaking news or updates? I think it's good to measure how often. This is a special use case, but how often people are posting. You can follow, for instance, CNN. So if it's a breaking news, see how often CNN are posting updates on their news, and see how people are engaging with it. And you can learn a little bit from those metrics. Now, as a professional, again, you're sharing your expertise with the end consumer. So if you just discover, for instance, that something really good you want to share, go ahead and share it and see how people are engaging with it. Meaning, 2 to 3 times per day is not the rule. The rule is for you to feel comfortable experimenting. Some use cases like breaking news have a different engagement because people want to know the latest. So posting more than 2-3 times makes sense. All right, sorry, Patrick, if you missed the actual presentation, but we'll have it available to you afterwards. All right, so does Pinterest have its own payment gateway? Will it become an e-commerce platform soon? So no, it doesn't. People ultimately go to your website to make a purchase. You probably see a lot of startups go on to integrate somehow and become a payment gateway through Pinterest, meaning they might provide like a pin or an action button that takes people to a completely branded payment, and then they will go back to Pinterest. But I think it might be slightly early to determine that. All right. Any final questions? All right. Apologies about the audio. It might be. I'm sitting actually in the recording room, which should be good enough. But I'm sorry if the quality of the internet wasn't that great. But we'll have these slides available to you anyway, Paris. All right. So Patrick has a question. Facebook shopping. How much is it effective? So when you say Facebook shopping, what do you mean exactly? Are you talking about those targeted feeds that you see on your Facebook and you click to make a purchase, or are you talking about the Facebook apps that has shopping integrated with it? Because I think there are e-commerce platforms. Okay, yes. So there are some e-commerce platforms that allow you to publish your store within your page. You know, actually, it's a good question. I would say depending on your brand and what you're selling, and how much traffic is it taken away from your actual website. Ultimately, what I would like to do is I would like to see people come to my website and make a purchase. because when you are on Facebook and you're selling, although you're presenting your brand, but you are somehow diluted within the Facebook brand, because people are on Facebook. They might get distracted during the purchase process. Things might happen, a chat might pop up. So for me, I think if I'm doing shopping experience, I want to remove all distractions, which is why I recommend sending people from Facebook to your website to buy. Although, depending on your business, maybe it works well for you if you do it integrated within the Facebook app. Give it a shot and see how that works. Personally, the e-commerce brands and companies that we work with, most of their purchases are done through their website, never through their Facebook or third-party channels, unless they're selling through Amazon, which is a completely different story. All right. Any other question? All right. So another question here. We're just about to start using Google Ads for maximizing our online ads. How much would you suggest as a benchmark for spending on Google Ads? A percent of the budget or actual amount? I mean, honestly, Tabang, this is a very wide question. I'm not a PPC specialist, but I've managed our own PPC, and I can tell you that the only way to find out how this works for you is by doing the following: creating multiple campaigns, setting up first set up a weekly budget that's not too high, and learning your ads, your keyword spend. Because if your keyword is $100 per click, and your sale is $100 for the life cycle of the client, this doesn't make sense. So figure out how much you're going to spend per keyword click. Do a short-term campaign so you can measure engagement. I've seen people do a full month and spend $10,000 immediately, which I think is a big mistake. And set up your landing pages, because the one issue with ads on Google is that once you turn it off, your traffic is gone. So what you need to do is you need to invest in SEO and landing pages, because you want to capture those leads coming over to you from these clicks. So if you're spending $20 per click and you're not collecting any information on your end consumer or the person clicking, then you're technically taking that $20 and you're throwing it down the drain. So to sum it up, I would say do your keyword research on the spend, do a short-term campaign, short-term multiple campaigns, because you want to track the different headlines. Invest a little bit in landing pages, and you can use a landing page tool, whether it's Vbout or something else, to create landing pages and capture leads, and just do a week by week assessment of your spend. And I wouldn't say spend all your money on one channel. You might want to measure engagement on Google. I'm sorry, on Facebook. You might want to see how people engage with you on, I don't know, depending what you're selling, on Twitter and so on. So it's good to experiment and stretch out your budget across multiple channels. All right, great. These are some great questions. I would love to hear some more if anybody else has any. That's what we're here for. Okay. I'm wondering how many people are starting to use or have used the 360 video shoot that they have, and even 360 images. Because right now you can, on YouTube, on Facebook, you can take a 360 image with your phone, and people can interact with that image on their Facebook feed by kind of moving around their phone. I think this is cool, and I would like to see how advertisers are going to use it to leverage their ads better. I'm going to test that with a couple of ads very soon, and I'll share the results with you. All right, so I think with this we can conclude our webinar for today. If anybody has any questions, you can always email me directly at my email. I just posted it in the chat. You can reach out to us via the website. We'd love to have you follow us on our social channels, and we'll see you at the upcoming webinar, which is going to be in about two or 3 weeks, which is going to be a great one as usual. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'll hang around for a couple of minutes to take any further questions, and we'll see you in the next webinar.